Nuclear Vision was produced by Art Positive, a group of artists, writers, and musicians dedicated to the prevention of nuclear war. We based the following anthology upon work submitted to us by artists throughout the United States. It is our hope that Nuclear Vision will open people's minds to the personal reality of nuclear peril and incite them to make a commitment to the movement for nuclear disarmament. The future has always been our hope. In the future, we look for salvation, for a time when we can free ourselves from misery, from need, and from struggle. But today, the future is uncertain. In a minute, we can destroy our entire race, and with it, the accumulated wisdom that humanity has developed toward understanding what it means to be alive.
You go away for a short vacation back east, where the trees are big and the air this time of year has a delicate edge of selenium from the computer companies out along Route 128. It seems to you everyone is coming a little unstuck. You notice new buildings going up 50 or so miles from the center of Boston, squat concrete structures backed into hillsides. All of them face away from the city. Your return flight is canceled in New York, and you were given a ticket back in someone else's name. At the last minute, they try to stop him from going on the plane after you. I'm sorry, sir, but you can't go on that plane. You see, you're already on board, and we can't allow your ticket to be used twice. Stranger still when you get home. Someone else is living in your apartment. Or rather, someone else is living where your apartment would be if the building was where you left it just a couple of weeks ago. But there's another building at your address, which clearly, what with all the detailed carving around the eaves, is at least 100 years old. And it isn't what it once was. It hasn't been painted for years. Fortunately, they still recognize you at the bank, but everyone calls you Colonel, and people you've never seen before seem to know who you are. Good show there, Colonel, you hear one woman say to you. I knew you had it in you all the time. When you telephone, none of your friends are in, or their lines have been disconnected. Wandering around in confusion, you pass the Army Intelligence Laboratory, and as you reach for the knob, you are quite sure that you have come to the right place.
Myths of geometry. Archimedes, hands smelling of almonds and olive oil, reached out millennia-long arms to mold silver birds, slender cones, to carry golden people to the heavens. Shod in boots that run along arrow tracks of logic, we wake up breathing the transparent air of Socrates' linear conversations with Newton, as translated by Euclid, Copernicus, Descartes. Everywhere with yardsticks of empiricism and a thought clear and unbiased as a parallelogram's razor edges, we plumb the clouded universe's black corners, plotting a graph for our measured order whose coordinate pairs climb ladders of progress out towards the uncharted margins of the page. But there is a hole in the center, for Archimedes, pointer in the sand, pondering problems of geometry, also created war machines because he was of royal blood and needed to eat, family, and subject to the king of Syracuse, who felt the pinions of Rome prying at the cracks beneath his walls. Thus the straight line bends, since we are grown in the petri dish of our times, and our thoughts germinate in the dialectic tangle of its cultures, so that Newton, who it is said never slept with a woman being free in his life from weakness and passion, made a modest fortune playing the market. And there is always the hole that warps the slide rules and diverts the archer's aim, for we plumb the cellar-black angles of the universe's dimensions, but not the depth of our souls, nor the temporal mechanics of how and who we really are, leaving the graph to spiral till the figures of our geometry are the disease of defoliation's concentric circles in Southeast Asia, the sphere of dollar bills rolling out of Central America on a track of machine guns and corpses, and the rising death curve of African infants whose mothers are sold baby formula when there is no clean water. And Einstein was a man of peace, but Oppenheimer all too loyal to country and the scientific problem, thinking with thoughts traveling blinding white plains beside the hollow ghost of rationality, thinking until it was too late that in an economy where human labor is a commodity separate from the rest of being, it would be possible for his reasoned arguments to sever intention from action while working within walls filled by the cement of military money. And in the center of the graph, where axes X and Y intersect, and the rational is the irrational, there's a hole gaping wide, from out of which, screaming like switchblades slitting the sapphire sky with the steel fire of perfect parabolas, race missiles, bristling amongst twisted shadows of vaporized fingers and hair, falling in the laps of heartbeat whose burning oceans of silence leave nothing.
Train coming, covered with black from the soot of the oil, burning in the stack from the east to the west. It circles back again, bringing the essentials for Armageddon. Their allies of straight-faced lies. Comes with fuel for countries who are rich. They give them back protection to a war train they're hitched. It's oil from the Mideast for arms, and the death beats begin. The war train, war train, war train. Locomotives pull that train, locomotives disguised in Maine, locomotives bound for a mushroom cloud. The war train rumbles, knows once again, bring bombs for the army, false hope for the men, leave the poor stars so they can't think, and then the army becomes a missing link. And their allies, to feed them lies. Hungry people, starved minds with guns in their hands and use them in time. Is peace what we need, a war for conglomerate greed to grow? The war train, a war train, a war train.
The cave. When I close my eyes, the sheets of color are like the flicker of flame and shadow on the walls of an ancient cave. Old walls, old shadows, lean and watch the slow dance among the flames, the scorch of fear like burnt hair. In the stillness after screams, the tension stretches taut those things that touch, like falling leaves, with the dry taint of fleshless hands, the uneasiness of unremembered dreams. When I close my eyes, it seems the walls of color pulse and bleed, the scorching touch of falling leaves, the dance of flames, forgotten dreams, combine to make the shadows scream. A dream of sacrifice. I begin to sink, a light ballet in the dim green air. My hair floats and weaves around my arms like seagrass. I sink the slow, polished arabesque a statue makes, thrown to appease the sea. But the sea collapses, grows primitive and still, like the heart of an emerald, inhuman. I reach the chill water and see you, and continue to sink, colder with each meter. Our skins luminesce. I see stone walls, fear in your eyes, bones on the well bottom, weighted with gold. Ooze closes on my toes, till I push muscles, breath, blood at the dead water, and begin to sunlight an uncertain ascent.
Tisha B'Av, Nagasaki Day. Dolce bellum in expertis. Of Hiroshima. How could a Christian nation drop the bomb? Nuclear war, death of the fertile earth. When the moon drips red with blood. Shin Khan, Consolation of Souls, in memory of Hiroshima fire victims. Memory of Hiroshima, a hope for the future. Nightmare of Claude Etherly, pilot of the Enola Gay. The last war will be fought with sticks and stones.
Onto desert sand, as dry voice in the fallen palm, the frail leaf settles to calm, the summer's spent production. Phenomena moans its lost moment, its dying day, in the dull wells of limitation. Beneath the failed monsoonal rain, a void of rational water pouring hopelessly onto desert sand.
Land and sea. Tonight I stand at the mouth of a frozen river, and I can almost see you there, motionless in the dark. The quiet water clasps cold around my naked calves. and there is snow and laughter and a moment of prayer. The small whisper in my mother's blood drifts across my voices of confession. I am afraid of what the world will do. The moon slips out a slender petal, offering all its painful gold to me for nothing. And I look for you everywhere and wait, without word or sigh or tear, for the sun to come over this crazy meeting of land and sea.